Hello, programmers. My name is Dan McElroy. This presentation covers a JavaFX project that creates an event registry that allows guests to select items that will provide for an event. The discussion covers program control files, various layout panes for JavaFX, reading and writing text files, and printing a page of text. Barbara McTell and Kenneth Dahl have been living together without the benefit of clergy. It is time for them to get married. This could be the big event of the year. I want lots and lots of presents and no duplicates. This could get very expensive for me and our guests. I know, we can register at the dollar shop. Register your weddings at the dollar shop and get the gifts you have always wanted. Why register at one of those expensive stores when you can save your guests a bundle of money? We have great things for your kitchen like plates, glasses, towels, cutlery, and cooking utensils. Things for your bath like soap, washcloths, and shampoo. Keep that new home clean with supplies, mops, and brooms. Avoid duplicate gifts by registering your wedding with the dollar shop. Just think about it. How many potato peelers do you really need? While you are registering your wedding, drop in for some inexpensive invitations and thank you cards. Everything you ever needed and always wanted is here, just waiting for you at the dollar shop. Okay, programmers, it is our job to create an event registry for the dollar shop. The wedding registry has a place for people to enter their name and choose items from a list. When a person has chosen the items that they wish to provide, the person clicks the Submit button, which causes their name and selections to be displayed on the right side, and then the checkboxes are disabled. Then another person can select available items from the list. The list is printed when the Print List button is clicked. The selection is saved to disk, and the list is cleared to start a new event. A control file is used to provide the name of the event and a list of items that anyone can edit. In previous projects, a list of items was hard-coded into the program. This made it difficult to change the list, and programmers needed to modify the source code, recompile the program, and then distribute it to the users. The code for the program and the item list.txt control file are located at program-info.net/java/event registry. Watch the capitalization of Java and event registry. If you're watching the video on YouTube, I recommend that you click the gear icon and change the quality setting to the highest level possible. There's a lot of detail in the video when trying to view the code. By using an external text file, the program can be used not only for a wedding registry gift list, but also a sign-up sheet for a potluck or any other event. The program is designed to read the item list.txt control file from the document subfolder Event Registry. You will need to create a subfolder in your documents directory named Event Registry and place the item list.txt file in that folder. The layout for the item list.txt control file is as follows. The first line has the title that will be displayed at the top of the GUI form. Each line of the text after that has an item that will be displayed with a checkbox. Blank lines can be used to separate groups of items, and a line with the words New Column will start a new column on the display. By using the JavaFX Grid layout pane, columns can be easily added to the GUI form with very little effort. The Event Registry GUI interface starts with the BorderPane layout. The top position contains a label that is used for the form's title. The left position contains a VBox, which in turn contains a label that displays guest name, a text field for the program's users to enter a name, and a grid layout to hold the checkboxes for each item from the itemlist.txt file. The center position of the border pane is not used. The right position has a text area control that holds the list of items selected by each guest. The bottom position holds 4 buttons: Submit, Print List, Save Clear, and Exit. The Submit button copies the guest name and each of the items selected into the text area on the right position. After the items have been copied, the checkboxes are disabled, preventing the next guest from selecting an item that has already been chosen. The Print List button prints the names of guests and their item selections that are on the right position text area, with a heading at the top of each page showing the title of the list, date, and page number. The Save Clear button is only partially implemented. Clicking the button should save the selection and then clear the form. Code is provided that clears the form. A method named Save Selection List is called when it is time to save the data, but there is no code in this method. It is your task to write the code that saves the contents of the text area and appending it to a file named eventregistry.txt. The Exit button ends the program. Class JavaFX Event Registry has 6 member data definitions: item list file name, title, LBL title, guest, selection list, and grid. These data definitions are placed here instead of inside of a member method. They need to be defined as class-level variables because they are shared between several methods. If they were defined inside the curly braces of a member method, then they would not be able to be seen in any other member method. For example, the selection list not only needs to be accessed from the method that processes the Submit button, but also needs to be accessible by the method that prints out the list when the Print List button is clicked. The grid object is accessed when the left position is being built. It is accessed when the Submit button is clicked, and it is accessed when the Save Clear button is clicked. The title string is only used in one place, but it is placed here so that it will be easily seen when looking at the program. Remember that there are a couple ways to make an object. For example, to make a label control with the text Hello World, the two-step process: label LBL Hello, reference to whole address of an object, LBL Hello equal new label, quote Hello World, instantiates and saves the address. Do both steps at the same time. Label LBL Hello equal new label, quote Hello World. LBL title, guest, selection list, and grid are only declared as references that can hold the address of an object. The new operator is needed to actually instantiate the object. This will be done in methods that have code for creating each of the BorderPane positions. The Event Registry application starts by instantiating the object named root as a BorderPane. The next 4 lines are used to set the top, left, bottom, and right positions of the BorderPane. The main program has methods named create title, create buttons, create right position, and create left position that have code to fill in each of the positions for the BorderPane. The center position of the BorderPane is not used. The lines for set style, set padding, and set margin help make the display look nice. A link to the Save Selection List is provided so that this method will be called when the application closes. And lastly, the Show method causes everything to be displayed on the screen. Error messages are displayed in BorderPane's left and right positions in the event that the program is not able to read the item list.txt file from the disk. The message in the left position states that the file could not be found, where it should be located, and the general format of the item list.txt file. The error message on the right position gives a sample format for the item list.txt file. These messages are provided in case someone tries to run the program without knowing about the item list.txt control file or placing it in the correct folder. An HBox is used to hold the title in the top position of the BorderPane. Actually, you could just get by with placing a label in the top position, but using an HBox gives us the opportunity to center the title using setAlignmentPosition.center. The label is initialized using the string title Event Registry, but will be customized to whatever is the first line in the item list.txt file. Not much happens in the create right position method. Selection list was declared as a text area reference at the top of the class JavaFX Event Registry to make it visible to every method, but it was not instantiated as an object. The create right position method has executable code within it, so here is a good place to instantiate the selection list object as a text area using the new operator. The font is set as well as some spacing and wrap properties to make it look good on the screen. No data is placed in the text area yet. That is done when the user clicks the Submit button. Although the code for the create right position method can be placed anywhere inside the class JavaFX Event Registry, the right position of the border pane needs to be created before the left position because the code in the create left position method might use the selection list text area to display an error message. 4 things happen in the create left position method. 1. Read the event name and list of items from the itemlist.txt file. 2. Get the name of the event and place it in the title in the top position of the border pane. 3. Provide a label and text field for the guest to enter their name. 4. Create a grid layout to hold the checkboxes for the items. Get the items from the itemlist.txt file and place them in checkboxes. The first thing that happens in the create left position method is the instantiation of a VBox named VBox. In Java, it is customary to capitalize the first letter of a class definition, but start objects, variables, and methods with a lowercase letter. By looking at VBox, we can see that the name of the class is VBox and the name of the object is VBox. This seems to be a very common practice when it is not necessary to give a very descriptive name to the object. Here is a big question. Where should the itemlist.txt file be placed on the disk? And how is the event registry program going to find it? The project definition states that the itemlist.txt file is to be located in a folder named Event Registry, which is located in Documents. What I want the program to do is to create a fully qualified file name to locate the itemlist.txt file. When I am logged on as D. McElroy to a Windows system, it is going to be located at /users /D McElroy /documents /event registry /itemlist.txt. When I'm logged on a Mac, the file should be located at /users /D McElroy /documents /event registry /itemlist.txt. If you're logged on, your user ID will be used instead of D. McElroy, so I don't want D. McElroy hard-coded into the program. The operating system has a collection of environment variables that hold information about the system and who is logged on and the name of their home directory. We can use Java's system.getEnv method to retrieve information from the system environment variables. You can see a list of the system's environment variables if you launch CMD on Windows or Terminal on a Mac and type the set command and press Enter. Windows has an environment variable named HomePath that identifies the home directory, also known as a home folder. On the Mac or Linux, the environment variable is called Home. On a Windows system, my home directory is /users/D McElroy. On a Mac or Linux system, for me, it is /users/D McElroy. Once I have retrieved the path from my home directory, all I need to do is use the plus string concatenation operator to add the string from item list file name declared at the top of the program that is set to quote /documents/event registry /itemlist.txt to the end of my home directory to get the fully qualified file name. The / and / can be used interchangeably on a Windows system when defining the path name for a file. Once we know the fully qualified file name, the program can instantiate a read text file object to read the itemlist.txt file. Read text file reads the file into an array of strings using one element in the array for each line of text in the file. Let's take a detour from the discussion of JavaFX Event Registry.java and look at readTextFile.java. ReadTextFile.java has 5 class-level variables: int max lines, string array file contents, int count, scanner int file, and boolean file error. Within the try block, an attempt is made to open the file. If the open fails, the rest of the try block is skipped and the program jumps to the catch block. The boolean file error flag is set and can be examined by the main program through the isFileError getter method. It is customary to name boolean getters starting with is instead of get. A for loop is used to read each line of the file as an individual string into the file contents array. The file is closed. The readTextFile class has 3 getter methods. Setter methods are not needed. The getters return the number of lines read, the string array, and the file contents, and the file error flag that indicates whether or not an error occurred while reading the file. Okay, back to the event registry code. After returning from readTextFile, the createLeftPosition method is either going to display error messages or instantiate a grid to hold all the checkboxes for the gift options. The isFileError method is called to see if an error occurred. If this happens, the 2 error messages declared at the top of the program are placed in the left and right positions of the border pane. A label error message is instantiated with error message 1, which is added to VBox. The return VBox statement a couple lines later sends the label back to be placed in the left position of the border pane. Error message 2 is placed in the selection list, which was already instantiated when the right border pane position was created. Go back and look at the top of the program for the sequence of creating positions for the border pane. It is top, bottom, right, and left. The right position must already exist before error message 2 can be placed in it. Now we can assume that an error did not occur while reading from the itemlist.txt file. The file contents are copied into string array itemList, which is a variable local to the createLeftPosition method. The line count is also retrieved from the readTextFile object. The first line of text in the itemList.txt file is the name of the event, which is to be placed as the title at the top position of the border pane. Although we're actually in the createLeftPosition method, it is here that we are reading the itemList.txt file, so it will be here that the title will be updated. The other thing that happens in part 2 of the discussion of the createLeftPosition method is the instantiation of the label and text field for reading the guest name. The variable line is used indexed through the itemList array that contains the lines of text from the itemList.txt file. Variables named column and row are used later when building the grid of checkbox options. I want to skip any blank lines before and after the line that holds the title. The do-while loop keeps reading lines from the item list array until a line is reached that is not an empty line. Note that the trim string method is also used to get rid of any leading or trailing spaces just in case there's a line that looks empty but actually had a space or 2 in it. After setting the title, any other empty lines are also skipped. Since line plus plus is already part of the while loop's test condition, it is not necessary to use line plus plus again outside the parentheses of the while loop. NetBeans has underlined this while statement in yellow with a notation that the loop does not have a body. I can either Ignore this message or rewrite the statement to have the line ++ outside the parentheses instead of inside. While item list subline.trim equals double quote, close parentheses, line ++ semicolon to make NetBeans happy. A line with guest name is placed above the text field so that the program's users will know what to put in the text field. Then the text field named guest is instantiated using the new operator. Remember that the text field guest was declared at the top of the program as a class level reference because it is used in more than one method. But it is only declared as a reference there and still needs to be instantiated as an object with a new operator before it can be used. So let's do it. Guest equal new text field. One more label, LBL blank line equal new label, double quote, is instantiated to use as a separator before the start of the grid of checkboxes. LBL guest name, guest, and LBL blank line have each been instantiated with a new operator and been given some memory, but they have not been placed in VBox. This will be done before the return VBox semicolon statement at the end of create left position method. Now it is time to create the grid of checkboxes. The grid variable was declared as a reference at the top of the program to make it visible to several methods. The grid equal new grid pane is the code that actually instantiates the object and places its memory address in the grid reference. A few more lines of code set the color and spacing to make it look nice. Actually, I fiddled around a bit to arrive at C0E0FF to make a light blue background for the grid. The while line is less than line count statement starts the loop that adds checkboxes into the grid as it loops through the rest of the item list array. The loop is looking for 3 different types of lines in the file: new column, a blank line, or a line that has an item that needs a checkbox. If the line is equal to new column, then a new column is started by column ++ and the row index is set to 0 to start at the top of the new column. We can play around with the item list.txt file and remove or add extra new column lines to see what happens. The grid pane layout is so cool that it automatically adjusts the size on the screen depending on the number of rows and columns that are placed in the grid. It would be a total pain to process a change in the number of items in the item list.txt file if the XY location of each checkbox were hard-coded into the program. Give a high five to JavaFX Grid Pane. If a blank line is found in item list.txt data, then an empty line using label double quote, is added to the grid, and the next grid row is selected using row ++. Anything except new column or a blank line is treated as an item that needs a checkbox. A checkbox is instantiated using the item list subline as the text to be displayed. Then it is added to the grid using the current column and row. Then the row is incremented by row ++. Line is incremented at the end of the while loop, moving down to the next line of data from the control file. We have reached the end of the create left position method. All that needs to be done is to add LBL guest name, guest LBL blank line, and the grid to the VBox, and return VBox back to the main part of the program that called the method, which was root.setLeft, create left position. This adds the VBox with its label, text field, and grid to the left position of the border pane. The method createButtons is fairly typical. It creates 4 buttons with the arrow lambda expression to link to their event handlers. As an extra bonus, a tooltip is added to the submit button. Try it out when the program is running. Hover the mouse over the submit button to see the tooltip pop up. Even though the JavaFX tooltip does not look exactly like the ones created using Microsoft's Visual Studio, it is still a tooltip. Three things happen when the Submit button is clicked. 1. The guest's name is copied to the text area in the right position named Selection List. 2. The text for each of the checkboxes that are clicked are copied to the selection list. 3. The checkboxes are disabled and turned gray to prevent duplicate entries until the form is cleared by the Save Clear button. Here is how things are added to the top of the selection list text area that is in the right position of the border pane. The text that is to be added is placed line by line in a new string named Current Selections. After the string has been built, it is added to the top of the selection list by taking Current Selections plus the new line character \n plus everything that was already in selection list. Look at the details of building the Current Selections string. 1. Start by putting the guest's name and the new line \n in Current Selections. 2. Make sure that its grid has been built and use a for loop to go through each location in the grid looking for checkboxes that are checked and not previously disabled. When one is found, get the text from the checkbox and add it to the Current Selections string. This may seem a little bit complicated, and this is because there can be more than one type of control in an individual grid location. Remember, the grid locations can contain either a checkbox for a selectable item or a label with an empty string to provide space between groups of selectable items. Look closely at the enhanced for loop. This version of the for loop is great for indexing through every position of a collection, such as an array or even the grid. In our case, the grid is a container, and the checkboxes and labels in the grid cells are referred to as children. As the for loop progresses, it gets a control from a grid cell with the grid.getChildren method and places it in the node object named node with a small n. Node is like a generic control whose data type is not yet defined. We need to see if the node is an instance of checkbox. If it is, then we check to see if the checkbox is selected and not disabled. The open parentheses checkbox close parentheses node is casting node to be treated as a checkbox. This would be similar to casting a character to an integer to see the numeric value of the character. Character ch equal single quote a single quote semicolon int value equals open parentheses int close parentheses ch semicolon. Make sure you see the exclamation mark, which is the not operator in front of not open parentheses. Open parentheses checkbox close parentheses node close parentheses is disabled, open close parentheses, which is testing for the checkbox being not disabled. After the text from the selected checkboxes have been copied into the BorderPane right position selection list, it is time to disable any checkboxes that have been selected using the setDisableTrue method. Going through the for loop here is the same as before, but instead of examining the checkbox is disabled. I want the contents of the selection list to be printed out by the printer when the Print List button is clicked, but the program just kept printing a partial image of the selection list that would not even show all the text in the list or even the full line of the text. I kept looking online at more and more possible solutions and finally gave it up for the day. I woke up in the middle of the night and decided that instead of printing the text area that was containing the selection list, that I should build a string that contained the text from the selection list and print it. This worked fine until I had more lines than would fit on a page. I could get it to print one page of text, but anything else after that was lost. Now I needed to find a solution to print on more than one page. Okay, so if I had a solution to print one page, I could just collect the information for a page, print it, and then collect the information for another page and print it. I coded the program to start each page with a header at the top that contained title, date, and page number, followed by 40 lines of selection entries. The string split method breaks up a string of text into an array of strings using the delimiter specified. In this case, it is the \n new line character. Be careful when using the split method because the delimiter is specified using a regular expression. It is very common to study regular expressions as part of a Unix or Linux course. Regular expressions are used for character matching in strings of text. Some of the control characters in regular expressions are caret, beginning of line, $, end of line, period, match any character, etc. So, if you wanted to break a string up that is separated by period characters, then it would be necessary to enter, quote, \, period, \ as the delimiter. In Java, C, C++, etc., \, becomes a single backslash in a string. So, \, period matches a period in a regular expression instead of matching any character. Suppose, for the sake of the discussion, that I only wanted 7 lines on each page instead of 40. I can take the line number mod 7 to determine when to start a new page. The $sign is the mod operator in C, C++, Java, and several other languages. Line mod 7 becomes a 0 after printing the 7th line, the 14th line, the 21st line, and so on. To print 40 lines on a page, use line mod 40 instead of line mod 7. The label lines to print equal new label is used to collect text for a single line. String array list of items equal selection list.getText.split, quote \n quote, places the lines from the text area into a string array named list of items. The date format can be used to format date and time any way you want. Note, the capital MM indicates month and small mm is used for minutes. Big date, date equal new big date, reads the current date and time from the operating system clock. The outer do loop collects all the lines for a single page, starting with the header line at the top that has the title, date, and page number, followed by up to 40 lines of text. The inner do loop collects the 40 lines max by building a string of text that is to be printed. Print, lines to print, is a method that does the actual printing. The code for this method is right after the print selections method. The print method is fairly standard. It shows up very often when doing an internet search for JavaFX printing. I modified it to print the text from a label. It gets called by the print selections method each time a page is to be printed. The save and clear method does 4 things. 1. Call save selection list method, which still needs to be written. It should save the contents of the selection list to a disk file. 2. Clear any check marks on the checkboxes and re-enable them by setting the disable property to false. 3. Clear the guest name and the guest text field. 4. Clear the selection list that is the text area on the right position of the border pane. The save selection list method is called in 2 places when the entire application closes and as a part of the save and clear method. Right now, the only thing it does is display a message. Saving the selection list has not been coded yet. It is your task to provide the code in this method to save the contents of the selection list by appending it to the end of a disk file named eventregistry.log in the same folder as the item list.txt file. The format of the saved data should 1. Start with a line of all equals characters to help separate one save from the next. 2. The title and date Refer to the print selections method on how to get the title and date. The contents of the selection list text area. Refer to the print selections method again on how to get the data from the selections list. When saving to the disk file, it is no longer necessary to break the lines of text into pages. Finally, the closing curly brace is found, which ends the class definition for the JavaFX Event Registry Application. The end. Wow! I went through all of the code details for the JavaFX Event Registry Application, and all you are asked to do is to code that one method at the end of the program. I hope I have not done a TMI on you. Too much information. One day, my 9-year-old daughter asked how the heater worked. I told her that the thermostat had a bimetallic spring that expanded and contracted depending on the temperature. A vial of mercury with 2 wires in it was connected to the spring. When the spring tipped one way, the mercury would flow down and cause an electrical connection between the wires inside it. Current would then flow to a solenoid in the heater, which would open the valve and let the gas flow to the burner in the heater. A pilot light always had a flame that was on, which ignited the gas in the burner. The flame would heat up a chamber in the heater. Another thermostat in the heater would detect when the chamber was hot and then turn on the fan to blow warm air into the house. When the house got warm enough, the thermostat on the wall would cause the mercury switch to tilt the other way and turn off the flow of electricity to the heater. Warm air would continue to blow into the house until the thermostat on the chamber detected that it was no longer warm, and then the fan would turn off. I looked at her expectantly with a big smile and asked if I answered her question. She said, "I'm cold. I just want the heater to go on." Too much information. But since you are taking a programming course, I really want to cover all these little programming details and hope you learn more than just the minimum to complete a programming project. Enjoy!